Hello. I have been asked to record a video of the process of water glassing eggs. This is a way to preserve fresh eggs that has been done for hundreds of years. It was done back in the 1700s, even before then, when obviously refrigeration was not a thing. But pioneers and people needed, in general, a way to preserve eggs, especially through wintertime when hens are historically not laying eggs. Today, modern farming and modern egg production, a lot of times they give artificial light to hens. Having that artificial light prompts the hens to continue laying through the wintertime. Now, for large-scale egg production, that may work, but it does drastically reduce the lifespan of your chickens. So on a small farm or a homestead, you don't want to do that because you want your hens to lay for as long as possible. So enter water glassing. Now, it's super simple. It's so simple that you may think to yourself, there is no way that this is going to work, and I'm not so sure about that because it does not involve refrigeration. This will preserve your eggs supposedly up to 2 years. I have not experienced a 2-year water glassed egg. I have seen up to 18 months. Those eggs are perfectly fine. As long as there's no smell. You can always do the classic float test to make sure the egg is still good. But it should be perfectly fine. The eggs don't taste any different. We are not pickling these eggs, even though one of the ingredients here is standard pickling lime. In fact, that's the only ingredient other than water. But you're not pickling the eggs. The eggs must be fresh, which means not a week ago or 2 weeks ago, like today. Within sometimes you miss some eggs. So, within a couple of days, you want them to be clean. So here is an example of a nice, clean, unwashed egg right out the chicken. What you don't want is a dirty egg. So while it appears clean, it's really not clean. It does have some marks on it there. So this is a no. You don't want to do this egg. I have 4 cups of distilled water. If you have good water, you can use it. I have well water and my water stinks, so I'm using water that has been distilled via reversed osmosis. You're going to need a good clean jar. This here is a 1-gallon jar. Anything less than a gallon really is too small because in a quart-sized jar, you're only going to get about 6 eggs in it. It's really not worth doing a bazillion quart jars full of eggs, especially if you have a lot of eggs, and I have 18 hens. This is, shout out to Mount Olive. They make fantastic pickles, but they also make fantastic jars that are the perfect size. So we have cleaned and repurposed this pickles. It's a pickle jar. They make great pickles too. It's going to be a pickle jar. We're going to see how many eggs we're going to stuff in this pickle jar. You're going to want some way to measure your lime. Standard kitchen scale. Because the lime to water ratio needs to be equal. So 1 ounce to 1 ounce. So 1 ounce water, 1 ounce lime. So we're just going to go ahead and zero out my scale real quick. I'm going to measure some lime. I'm going with 4 cups of water first. So that's 32 ounces of water. So I need 32 ounces of lime, which should be about a 1/4 cup. It's not a whole lot, not as much as you would think. Because you don't want it to be completely full. The eggs are going to displace the water, so you don't want it to be 100% full. Give me a second here while I measure out my lime. Almost there, about 30. All right, so this is roughly 32 ounces. It's a little bit more. It's like 33 and a half, but that's okay. This is just a standard 1 cup, so that's like barely a quarter cup of lime. You're going to dump it right into your water. Right into the water. We're going to give it a good stir. So the lime is heavier than the water, okay, and that's normal. You're going to see some settling of the lime in the water. That's okay. You want that. You want it to do that. It's going to be this milky color here. Again, completely normal. We're going to go ahead and fill the jar. And you can see some of it even settling at the bottom of that. That's okay. It doesn't, we're not looking for 100% absorption because we want some of that lime to fall onto the eggs eventually. Now, this does not look like a whole lot of water, but I promise you once we start putting eggs in, it's amazing how little water you actually need. Now, side note, I'm doing this with my bare hands. Lime is incredibly drying on the skin, okay? So I'm actually going to take my rings off because I don't want it to get on there. But it's caustic and it's drying, so I do recommend using gloves. I'm a terrible example. I'm not using gloves because I'm lazy and I don't have any, so that's okay. But if you can get some gloves, just like plastic or vinyl gloves, it's perfectly fine. When we put our eggs in, make sure that one doesn't have a crack in it. No, it's just a mark on the shell. So we want them small side down, okay? And we're just gonna put them in right like that. I'm gonna move this a little bit closer here so I can get to my eggs. So we're gonna see here just how many we get in. So I've got 1 in, 2, 3, 4, 5, just nice and gentle. 6. Now they're going to move around a little bit. That's okay. 7. 8.
Hey, honey, you find all the animals?
Now, see, I found this one here, and I noticed that it's got a little bit of dirt on it. I am not going to put this egg in. Let me take that out. I don't want to contaminate my eggs. I guess I've been paying attention to that one. So now we're at 12 eggs. And we're still good for water. So now we're starting to run out of some water. That's okay though. We'll add a little more water, a little more lime. So now I'm up to about 24 eggs now in here, which is way more than I could get in 2-quart jars. So as you can see, we're going to need a little more water, a little more lime. There's a little bit of lime left in here. I'm going to put some more water in this. Not a whole lot, just a tiny little bit here. Give it a good stir, stir up that lime. This is about 1 cup of water. And we want it just over the eggs. That's almost perfect. We'll kind of move these guys around a little bit, see if we can get some coverage. There's that one. Oh, maybe just a tiny little bit. This one I'm probably not going to add lime to. Just a little bit of extra water there. There we go. So as you can see, it's just covering the top. We've not filled this whole thing. What you're going to want to do once we cap this is that as you get eggs every day, the idea is that you just keep adding until you're full. Since I'm relatively new to this, I don't want to do more than 1 gallon at a time, because it's one thing if I lose 2 dozen eggs from contamination, if I didn't see an egg was dirty or whatnot, but it's a whole nother to lose a 5-gallon bucket of eggs or a 3-gallon bucket of eggs. So we're just going to start small, see how it goes. I have my quart eggs, and I'll show you what they look like. The quart eggs. So this is what my quart eggs look like, and as you can see, the water's still a little bit, it's not completely clear, but you can see the lime at the bottom. You can see some of the lime resting on the eggs. I think I've got 7 eggs in this one, but this is a quart sized. So if you want, it's a good place to start, or you can start bigger, but there you go. That's water glassing eggs. I'll mark the top with the date so I know when the first batch went in. Once you're done, obviously you're going to wash your hands really well. Get rid of that lime on there so it doesn't completely dry out your skin. Put these in a cool, dark place, a root cellar, a basement, under a cabinet, somewhere where they're not going to be disturbed. And leave them alone. Unless you're adding eggs to them, you don't want to open them. The water and the lime will, much like the bloom on the egg, protect them from the air. But you do want to keep it covered because you don't want airborne contaminants like dust and things to settle in there. I know back in the old days, they covered them with cloth and twine, just to kind of keep a lid on there. But thank goodness for modern conveniences like screw-on lids. I will happily make another video. Check back when it's been maybe 6 months or so, and we'll crack one of these bad boys open at 6 months so that you guys can see what it looks like, and then we'll taste test it. So there you go. There's some water glassing. Hope you enjoyed it.